What is up, guys? How we doing? I'm sorry I didn't upload yesterday. It was a very long work day. Got home, cooked some tacos, and by the time I got done with it, man, it was just too late. We're trying to get to bed earlier, and um, here lately, uh, I've been overthinking my videos and overthinking what I want to talk about and what I want to do, and just being a little too hard on myself and trying to satisfy everybody and scared to talk about things that I want to talk about, and just overthinking is what I do. And I knew April was going to be a difficult month for me. I talked about on the 1st, that being the anniversary of my wife leaving, and that on the 12th and the 24th, I'm going to make a video about those dates, going more in depth about what happened on those dates. And then after the 24th, I'll have one more trauma dumping video to do, and that's talking about my childhood. And that's going to be the hardest one to make, and it's going to be the last one for a reason. And then after that, you'll have all my life story. You'll have my childhood. You'll have my sobriety video, which is basically my teenage years and my road to recovery. You'll have my young adult years, and then my becoming a father and going through my divorce, and you'll basically have my entire life story. And that's probably going to be the last trauma dumping video I do. Today I wanted to talk about depression, actually. And just mental illness as a whole, I guess. To anybody out there that might be, it's getting to be a more and more common thing. And I haven't been feeling good lately, and I'm sure you can tell. And whether it's this month, whatever, things are getting hard, man. I'm getting by the skin of my teeth, and I'm just constantly stressed out, and I'm really lonely. I haven't had any human interaction outside of work, except for my grandmother, for an entire year now, and that's why I started making these videos. So whenever I find myself overthinking what I want to talk about, what I want to do, what I want to go into, rant about, I always need to remember the entire reason I created this channel was to vent about what's on my mind. So I wanted to talk about mental illness because while I have talked a lot about the shit that I've gone through, I haven't really talked about my state of mind, I suppose. And when people hear depression, including myself back when I was young, I got diagnosed when I was 14 with general anxiety disorder and depression, and bipolar 2, or 1, whichever one is the manic one. You got two of them, which one is more depression leaning, one is more manic leaning. And I hate this trend of people pretending to have, they self-diagnose themselves with mental illness for fucking social media clout. And you can always tell that they're faking it, because people that are depressed don't enjoy talking about these things. These are not easy things to discuss. And there seems to be this misconception because of those people that being manic or bipolar, for example, is the flip of moods from sad to happy. That I just can't tell you how many memes I've seen of me during my manic episodes, and it shows like a meme of someone being happy. That is not what being manic is. Being manic is pacing around your living room. It's being uppity. It's being wound tight. It is not being happy. And the mood swing is going from being super uppity and wound tight to too depressed to get out of bed. There is no happiness in there. So, like, I was treating it, right? Because these two things go hand in hand, okay? Anxiety can cause depression, and depression can cause anxiety. There is a difference on how you attack treating the two. And for me, anxiety has always caused the depression, right? And how I've always been treated medically is stop the depression, the anxiety should stop, and that's not it's never been effective. And I was in denial, I think, when I got diagnosed with depression. I was like, no, I'm just anxious. I just have manic episodes. I think myself into a funk, right? Your brain is such a powerful thing. You overthink. You can literally think yourself into being depressed, but that's because I wasn't like everybody else. When you think of depression, you think sad, right? But being depressed isn't being sad necessarily. Being depressed is not having the strength to get out of bed. It's normal things to a human being that matter don't matter. You don't find joy in the things that you do. You don't, you push everybody away because you feel like you're a burden. You just taking a fucking shower feels like a lot of work. It's inexplainable, really, and it's not necessarily just being sad. It's literally, it affects it digs itself in every crevice of your life. And I've been an anxiety-ridden fool and depressed most of my life, suicidal even. And I often, whenever I was a teenager, would think that the world was better off without me. I told you about my uncle committing suicide, and seeing how somebody so strong, how somebody so determined could give up like that it made me just think, well, I'm not half as strong as he is. What I'm like, my outlet was drugs. That was the point of the Check My Sobriety video, was to talk about how through the things I was dealing with as a teenager, or after my childhood, or whatever, to deal with the trauma, I did drugs. Drugs made me happy. If you knew me and I was ever in a good mood, it's likely I was high. Because, you snort a line and all of a sudden you're all warm, you feel good, your problems melt away, you're energized, and for the first time, you don't feel weighed down by it. And so that was a big part of why I used, and was to hide that, was to seem happier than I was, because they made me happier than I was. And whenever, I got sober from 14 to 18 before I got all my dental work done. And if this is your first time watching me, maybe check out my road to sobriety video. That'll give you a lot more context. And I was actually really happy when I was sober from 14 to 18 because, like I said, for the first time in my life, things were good. My mom had a decent man, and we lived in a decent house, and I met the only girl I've ever been in love with. She was my neighbor. We practically lived together, and life, like I said, was kind of nice. And all that, fell apart when I was 18 while simultaneously getting prescribed perks. And this time around, when I got sober, whenever I found out that Persephone was coming to be, I started realizing just how unhappy I am. Just how, every day it just feels like a slog fest to get through, Not to mention the work and responsibilities you got to deal with like everybody else, but just every day. Every day that I had one more day of sobriety under my belt, the more angry I was, the more sad I was, the more just all these thoughts, all this trauma, I couldn't, mask it anymore. I couldn't get high, and those thoughts melt away. Now it's coming to a head. I got to deal with it, right? And for the last 4.5 years that I've been sober, I've realized just how unchecked all the things that I was dealing with really were. And I got sober, realized just how anxious I was, having panic attacks daily, and just how sad I was, just how obviously a body in motion stays in motion. One of the best things you can do if you're depressed is get a routine, as hard as it is, because I just told you that being depressed is it's hard to get out of bed, but the best thing is being on routine, going to work, having a routine, keeping your mind out of your mind, right? Because you can get trapped up there. And when I got sober and all this, anger started consuming me, and I started realizing how anxious I was. I tried to figure out what my outlets are going to be. What is the outlet for this trauma, this stress going to be now? Because, and I worry when I tell you this that you think that maybe I took it out on my wife and kid. No, I was a good husband, and I continue to be a good father. It's just to everyone else, I'm uptight, wound tight, and somebody that might see how stressed out I am might assume that I'm that way towards my daughter, but my her happiness is my life purpose, and at the time so was my wife's. And so I wouldn't take out my anger on them in any way. It was more like taking it out on stupid shit, like my phone, like inanimate objects, just like that, and it showed, It showed in my job. I could never just be in a good mood. Yeah, I was a damn good server, but it wasn't me being bad at serving that was the problem. It was getting along with my coworkers and getting along with my boss, or getting, that side of things. I was good at my job, I was good with customers, but then whenever it was time to go to the back and start talking with other people, I was just fucking grumpy, man. I was just so wound tight that I just continued to, I don't know, just be this ball of anger, and tried figuring out what my outlets were. So I picked up Fortnite. I started getting into building Legos. And while these things were helpful, yeah, they get your mind off of it and whatnot, they didn't. They were just distractions. It wasn't like it was actually helping anything. And, how do I not feel like this anymore? Drugs made me not feel like this anymore, but then drugs created a whole new cycle of now you're just chasing, your entire existence revolves around making sure you get high so you don't feel that anymore. And now you have to feel it. Now you gotta deal with it. So what is your outlet for dealing with that? And it's a miracle I'm still here. And I'm still in the process of trying to figure that out, what my outlets are, and that's why I turned to YouTube to talk about it, to just dump, to just, I have not had anybody to talk to my entire life except my high school sweetheart about the shit that I've gone through. So I made this channel to just dump. I was lonely and in pain and still am. And these videos are helping, but they're also stressing me out because I'm overthinking it. Because, now that I'm up to 100 subscribers and I got a handful of you out there that like my videos, like me and root for me, and I've gotten comments saying, I hope your channel becomes huge, and that's just the sweetest thing for a complete stranger to say to you, and but I was thinking about it, and if I got 1 million subscribers overnight, what would I do? How would I sustain that? I think I would just get really stressed out and be scared of posting. I would start to overthink what I need to say to not piss anybody off, what I need to do, and so the videos are becoming stressful. I'm not gonna lie, because I don't want to disappoint y'all, but they're not becoming stressful because of you guys or anything. They're becoming stressful because I'm overthinking it. And I guess the point I'm trying to come to is I'm gonna stop doing that. At the end of the day, I made this channel as an outlet to vent. And I never made it with the intent to get big. I never made it thinking I would get 100 subscribers, and I wish I had a better setup to record and make better quality content. I just don't. I wish I had more time to invest in the editing and video ideas and brainstorming, and I just don't. But at the end of the day, me getting on camera and just talking about my day, just talking about, how shitty Uber was today, or ranting about fucking dude wipes or whatever is what this channel was meant to be. It's meant to be me venting. Sometimes that has to do with politics. Sometimes that has to do with these channels that I see being a negative influence on society. Sometimes it has to do with real world issues that are huge. So, yes, I get hated by many. The trauma dumping playlist, those videos are hard to make. I feel they're necessary to make for you to get to know me, for you to understand me, why I think that way, and hope that it can help somebody else that can relate. But when I make them, it does feel like a weight's lifted to talk about them, but I do go on to think about it for the rest of the day, and it is hard to make them, which is why after the 24th, like I said, I'm going to make a video about my childhood, and then all my trauma dumping playlists. It'll basically be my entire life story, and then I'm not going to make anymore. But I need to go back to the roots. I'm more confident at speaking to the camera now, and I recognize where, like, at the beginning, all my videos were like 45 minutes to an hour, and I would just kind of repeat the same thing over and over, and would never know when to cut and ramble on. And I recognize where I need to improve on making videos, but here lately, making videos has been adding to that stress, because we'll have a good week, right? And then we'll have a bad week, which is just how it is. That's just how YouTube is. But then I overthink. Man, what the hell did I say? Why are the views going down? Like, what did I say? Did I go too far in this video? Did I? And what was meant to be an outlet for me is becoming stressful, because I was never expecting anybody to listen or care, and the love that you guys have shown me, I was not expecting. And now that you're here, I'm scared of saying the things that I want to say. But I'm going to stop overthinking it. I'm going to stop worrying about the numbers. I'm going to stop letting the numbers dictate what I talk about. And I'm just going to go back to the roots of this being what it's supposed to be, and that's an outlet, not meant to cause me more stress because I'm worried about losing somebody or pissing somebody off. It's an outlet, you know? There was a period after my divorce where I didn't want to be here anymore. Suicidal thoughts are something that I've struggled with my entire life. And I was in such a depressive state that I started asking myself if Persephone would be better off without me. That maybe somebody else would be able to provide her with a better life, because it's not fair that her mother walked out on her, which is my fault for knocking up such a shitty person. And it's not fair that she has a dad that's wound so goddamn tight just now trying to figure out how to be an adult way too late, because I wasted so much time fucking off and wallowing in self-pity, and it's not fair. She's got to deal with these financial struggles and stay in the car with me all day working, and it not having much family. Like, I just got in this dark place where I thought maybe it would be better off for her to be with someone else, that maybe they could give her the life that I couldn't. And I started making videos because of those thoughts. And because it was like I've gotta do something. I've gotta find something, some outlet for this, or I'm not gonna have the strength to keep fighting. My entire life has been one big fight, just one after another, and this was the knockout punch. And so I started making videos, and you guys have shown me nothing but kindness, and I wasn't expecting that. And every day I just try to remember that I am her father. I fought like hell to make sure I was sober, to make sure that there was a roof over her head, to make sure that there was food in her stomach, and I don't think anybody else in my position would have fought as hard as I did. So I absolutely need to be here, because nobody's going to continue to fight as hard as I will. Finances may suck, you know. It does suck that her mother isn't here. These things suck, but I know what it feels like to have your childhood ripped from you, to have the world mold you, to take away the dinosaur in you, so to speak. And because I was such a happy little kid when I was like 5, I was so happy. And I just want her to stay young for as long as she can, to enjoy being young, to enjoy being a child, and have nurturing parents, and just enjoy it. And I don't think anybody on this planet could care so much about that purpose like I do. Because all I was taught was exactly what not to be. And when that happens, you're given 2 roads, and it's become that or don't, and do the opposite of that. And I've done the opposite of that. And I know where I need to be a good father for her to be happy. But this depression, this anxiety, it's making it hard. It's making it really hard. It's been a year, and I love that little girl so much. I don't know if any of this makes sense, but you guys have helped me. When I say you guys have helped me get through this year, I really mean it. And it's my fault that YouTube's become stressful, because I'm overthinking it. I'm not using it as an outlet anymore. I'm using it as I'm trying to care about the numbers too much, and that's adding to stress. So I'm no longer gonna do that. I'm just gonna make the video I want to make. I'm gonna go off on the things that I want to go off about, and either you're along for the ride or you're not. But this has been a good outlet for me, and I don't want it to turn stressful, because I'm getting too stressed out about the numbers. But the fact is I still haven't figured out what how to be happy. And I don't know if I ever will. I've never been happy. I don't know how to explain it. The only thing I find joy in is seeing my daughter smile and hearing her laugh, which is why I play with her all day. But I'm tired of being so tired. I'm tired of some days not having the strength to do more than just get out of bed and take care of her, because every day I need to be on it. We need to be up. We need to be going to work for 8 hours, cooking, cleaning, and some days I'll be too depressed to go to work, or I'll be too depressed to cook, so I'll give her a TV dinner or shitty things like that. And I'm not saying if you give your kid a TV dinner, you're shitty. And because of my anorexia, I don't really eat. And so I've been trying to be on top of working, be on top of cooking more, be on top of not letting my depression weigh me down to the point that I just feel so overly exhausted that these normal everyday things feel like steeper hills than they really are, if that makes any sense. That's how I feel. That's how I've been feeling. This month's been rough. I've been thinking about my ex-wife a lot. I knew this month was going to be rough. And I wanted to fill this month with just working as much as possible, but I haven't been sleeping very well, and I'm tired, and I'm so fucking tired. My God. Like, my sleep schedule is so stupid. But I just want you guys to know that you've helped me tremendously, and I'm sorry that my content as of late hasn't, or this week at least, hasn't really been the greatest. It's just been me rambling without a point, but that's kind of why. Because I was stressing over the numbers, and I'm not going to do that anymore. This is an outlet for me to figure out where to place this, right? And I'm going to keep doing that. That's the point of the channel. And sometimes it just happens to do with commentary. Sometimes it just happens to do with shit that I notice in day-to-day life. And I don't know, man. Yeah, I've gotten yelled at by a lot of people, called a radical leftist, blah, fucking blah, terrible dad, terrible this, terrible, even though a day in my shoes would make these motherfuckers crawl. But Persephone keeps me strong, she keeps me going. And this has been the #1 outlet I have found that has helped with that. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how to solve it, and I don't know if I ever will. I don't know if I ever really will be happy and free myself of depression. But I know I need to get off Subutex. I know I need to just make videos to vent and not stress about the numbers and stay busy. But it's been such a hard year. And it's like, is this how it's gonna be for 18? You know, but you can't look at it that way. You gotta just take it a day at a time and say, okay, today I'm going to do better. Today I'm gonna work an hour longer, right? I'm gonna get up an hour earlier. I'm gonna, you gotta baby steps. I'm gonna cook fucking dinner tonight, and I'm gonna do the dishes. And while these might to a normal person sound like, well, that's what depression is. Just not having the strength to get up, I, it's hard to word. But you have to, because a body in motion stays in motion, and that's really the best advice I can give. And I know that, like, looking at things pessimistically and negatively is just, like, that makes things worse. Like, why is this always happening to me? Like that victim mindset just kind of makes, when you're always looking at the world in a negative way, it makes things worse, and trying to change that thought process to thinking more positive, not just noticing the negative parts of your day, but the positive parts of your day, and letting those influence your thinking just as much as the negative. That's the hard part, and that's what I'm trying to work on every day, because the fact is she needs a man. She needs a happy father, and a man that's going to take care of business, not this depressed sap that's fucking stressed out all the time, because she's at the age now where she knows what I'm saying. She can tell how I feel. She, and I just want to become better for her. Anyway, I know this video is scatterbrained as fuck, but that's what's on my mind. That's what I've been thinking about the last week. And if you're dealing with the same things, you're battling with the same things, my heart goes out to you. And just take it one day at a time and know that you are not alone. That's the most important thing. I can't tell you how to find happiness because I'm searching for it myself, but what I can tell you is that life is worth fighting for. Thank you guys for being a part of it.